Hey, what's happening, Roland? Well, it's the second week of it's actually the end of the second week of December. Just a few days till Christmas, and it's almost December 21st. So it's not quite; it's the 15th. But the point is, winter is it's right now. This is the end of fall, and I know you're freezing to death, and I know that fishing right now maybe is not an option in your place. But I'm here in southern Florida, and it's a big cold front. Okay, now what we're dealing with is a cold front situation. Now, I can really do well in a cold front situation. The water temperature's dropped here in Florida. It's down in the 60s, which is not always real good. But I got an answer for you, and I'm going to explain what I'm going to do today. This last week, I fished with this guy, Lee Bailey, out of Orem, Utah. He's just a real good friend of mine. Did a lot of elk hunting, a lot of deer hunting with him over the years, and a lot of bass fishing as well. And we had an exceptional trip. But anyway, I'm out here with my frog dogs. It's not raining now, but this is a perfect frog dog day, cutting this wind. And I got the boat clean. Look at this. I used the Booyah Cleaner products. I cleaned the boats up, and look, this particular boat. Now, what I just want to show you some of the equipment on this boat that makes it so good. I use this as a guide boat. And I took the rhino wrap and I put this rhino covering all over it. It makes it a really good thing. It's easy to clean, and it looks beautiful. And the other thing, of course, I have is I have two things here. I have my active target system up front, and see them active target as I move my trolling motor. Watch this, the trolling motor. I'm looking at fish. I'm looking at grass. I'm looking at all sorts of stuff on the bottom. And so now that's one of the secrets of my success right now. The other thing I have is I have this move trolling motor. This is that new power pole system that you've seen me use. And this move system has an anchor mode. It has real high power. It's 30% lighter. It's stronger. It's really cool. Anyway, this is the complement that I'm using right now to catch my wintertime bass. Let me explain what I'm doing. This is cold weather for Florida. Even though it's not cold for maybe you in Cincinnati, Ohio, it might be a lot colder. But the point is, in the 60s, it's kind of cold here in Florida. So I use a thermometer. And you see me do this many, many times. I take the thermometer, I move it down to the water right here like this. And right now, it's come up to 71 degrees. And the reason why it's 71 degrees is the water was a lot warmer last week. And the wind's blowing in. It's taking all this warm water and leaving some of the warm water here. It's piling the colder water to that. And in this case, it's a northeast wind. So that's a southwest shoreline. And so that's north, and this is northeast coming this way. So that's the kind of the direction it's blowing. So what I'm doing basically in the wintertime, it's something I've always done in all my tournament fishing, is I try to find the warmest water I can find. And generally speaking, on a northeast wind, it's going to be the northeast corner, because the northeast corner of the lake is going to retain as much heat as it can, and it's going to push all the colder water down to the southwest shoreline. So that's an important thing. Remember the direction of the wind for the couple days before you go fishing, and then you fish that lee area, and have a good thermometer. Okay, now I found 71 degrees, 72 degrees. That's really, really good. And last week when I was with Lee Bailey, what we did, we went up to the north end of the Headwaters Lake, and we did two things. We had some shiner rods, and we had topwater rods. And I told Lee, I said, I told Chris rather, I said, Chris, what we're going to try to do today is we're going to try to see which is a better deal, whether this Pop 80 or Pop 60. This is a Pro Pop 60 right here. Whether this will outproduce a shiner. And he said, oh my gosh, the shiners are going to beat everything to silly. Well, you know, that wasn't really the case. In fact, the biggest fish we caught for the whole day, or 2 days, was a 7-something that we caught on this plug. We caught a couple more 5 and 6 pound fish. And we caught about as many fish on the topwater plug as we did the shiner. Now, how we did it was basically we came into these warmer little coves, warmer little areas like this. Okay, and I'm going to just kind of come up a little bit farther forward, raise my power poles. And I watch the depth finder. See this? I'm looking for fish now. I'm looking for grass clumps. There's a grass clump right there, 20 foot. There's some bait right out there. There's bait right there. I'm going to take this. I'm going to drop the power pole down. I'm not going to use the power pole this time. I'm going to do another system. See, when I want to hold like this, what I can do is now watch this. I want to hold and I want to throw right over there. I'm going to hit this anchor mode. Watch, this is the neat thing about this trolling motor, is the move trolling motor. Hit the anchor mode, that's going to hold us in position. Now here's the key to this fishing right now. I'm going to make a nice long cast right to the edge there. There's some grass right there. Underneath it. I'll let it sit. I'm going to let it sit. I'm going to let it sit. The ripples are dying away. The ripples are dying away. It's just sitting out there. The trolling motor is in anchor mode. It's kind of going back and forth. Okay. And I'm going to just barely twitch it along. Just barely move it now. See how even in the wind, it's kind of hard because the wind's kind of pushing the line and it's kind of moving in the wind anyhow. So you just move it real slow. The biggest fish we caught the other day, well, one of the biggest fish I caught was over 6 pounds, and another guy caught a 7-pounder. I had to go do something. I laid the rod down to go help with the guy, and all of a sudden the bass came up and hit it with the rod in the water like that. So again, I'm just working it just real slow and easy. Okay, now I'm not in a good spot. This isn't what I call my best fishing area. We're just a little spot behind my house. There's not many fish here. I'm just explaining what I did. I've only caught a handful of fish here. This isn't really what I don't expect to even catch a fish. But again, I'm looking, but you can catch fish here. And again, I'm looking for grass. Okay, see those lily pads? I can see that with the depth finder. Okay. I'm going to throw by that lily pad. I'm going to throw by this lily pad first. Just right there. Okay, let it sit there, okay? Just, I see some fish right, there's a fish right there. I don't know, might be a bluegill. Again, the wind's blowing it, just slow and easy. Just barely moving it along. Just barely moving it. Now, what I like to use, of course, I use a favorite rod, and I got my favorite reel. But actually, I'm using monofilament. And the reason why I'm using monofilament is the simple reason that fluorocarbon sinks. And braid, braid's all right too. And I want to show you a new thing by Spike-It. It's a braid dye that's really cool. It's kind of cool. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Okay, again, I'm going to throw to these cover areas like those pads. I'm going to let it sit there. I'm going to let it sit there. I'm going to let this. I'm not moving it. I'm not hardly moving it. I'm not hardly moving it. I'm just going to let it sit there a long time and just the slightest little movement. The slightest little movement is all I do. And it's just forever just letting it sit there. Okay. Well, again, there's hardly any fish in here. I mean, I'm not going to probably catch one. But that's the kind of fishing we did at Headwaters. I was somewhat at the edges of the hydrilla line. There was a lot of canals there, and there's a deep drop-off, and I'm watching my depth finder to see where the water drops from, say, 6 to 10 feet, that kind of an area. So I'm looking for fish. I'm looking for grass. And with this forward-facing sonar, I can identify all sorts of different features. How much time do we have?
We're up to 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Okay, that's Sean, my cameraman I'm talking to. I got 8 minutes of time. Okay, again, I'll take a little spot like these pads right here and just throw by the side of them. That's a little close. I don't normally catch fish that close to the boat. That, basically speaking, the boat scares them a little bit. That's not something I'd probably ever catch. I'd probably not. It's just kind of a wasted cast. The cast that I'd probably do the best with would be the one where I'd say throw it way over on the bank over there, even farther than that. That's the kind of cast that oh, look at the bird. The bird came and tried to get it. Again, just a slow, easy retrieve, and that's the key. You know, this last week with Chris, I had this guy by the name of Coach, and he caught a 7-pounder on topwater. He caught the most bass that he's ever caught. We had somewhere between 12 and 15 bass in the 5-pound class each day. So that, oh, look at that, I got one. It was just laying there. You saw what happened. It was just laying there. I was talking to you about the Coach, and look at this. Not only is it a bass, that was a peacock bass. That was a different species fish, and that was kind of cool. It was a peacock bass. No, anyway, that was really cool. Might be another one here. I'll just see what happened. Anyway, the Coach caught a 7-pounder, and he caught a couple of 5s, and the shiners produced. But the point is, there's doing 2 things. You find the warmest water in the lake. You also need to find some clear water like this right here. Okay, this is the perfect kind of water that I would suggest you try to find. And then you know, a topwater plug is a great choice, but of course, shiners this time of year, everybody wants to come down and catch a big trophy bass, and their best shot at an 8-pound bass is probably a shiner, and that's what probably we're going to probably do. Now, I want to show you one other thing I have here, and that is a new product by Spike It, and it's what it is. It you know, we've always had problems painting our line. Our braided line doesn't often take a deal very good. Now here's a black, and we just want to show you something. I want to just take a line right here. Okay, now here's a braided line. Now here's the new Spike It braided line marker. And a lot of times I'll take a line, and I'll take just a regular magic marker, and it works pretty good. The magic markers work, but the problem with the magic marker, it comes off. This is a permanent dye. It's similar to a magic marker. Right there. Look at it. Look at her. Look how racked it gets. Look at her. Look how racked it gets. Look at that. Look at that. You're talking about something that now it really makes a difference. You can see the difference in the color. Right here, here's a little. Look at that. It's kind of a white line, and then it's all dark. This is one of Jimmy Houston's Red Man spinnerbaits, by the way. It's a really cool deal. I can get it out. And again, we're taking a slow retrieval. Now that's another thing that does work at Headwaters and all these lakes for that matter. A spinnerbait or chatterbait's another good choice, along with a topwater. But again, I'm a topwater guy. I just love the challenge of catching particularly big old bass on a topwater. But a spinnerbait's not a bad choice as well. Anyway, that's just a few ways of catching fish in the wintertime. Come on down to Headwaters. We're catching a lot of big 5 and 6 and 7 pound bass each and every day on shiners and on lures when the weather will permit. But right now it's wintertime. Hey, in the wintertime, we catch fish the whole entire winter. I know it's kind of cool today. It's a frog togs day. It's the kind of day that you will catch a big bass. And so I hope I've taught you a few things, and particularly how to fish in this cold weather. Watch that thermometer. Hey, find yourself some good calm water, and you'll catch a good big bass too. So thanks for listening. Hey, hit that likes button. We'll see you again soon.